Welcome to the Liberating Beauty Podcast. I'm Rebecca, your host, and together we'll explore the spirit of beauty, how beauty invites new possibilities, enlivens us to inhabit our innate creativity, and connects us more deeply with ourselves and with each other. We'll have conversations and share reflections that invite you into a frequency of gentleness, truth, and mystery. I'm so glad you're here. If you find the Liberating Beauty Podcast meaningful, please consider supporting our work. To donate, follow the link in the show notes to the Together in Beauty website, home to this podcast, along with other offerings to accompany you on your journey of spiritual becoming. Please subscribe, rate, and share this podcast wherever you listen. And as always, thank you for your support and for being here with us. Welcome back, everyone, to the Liberating Beauty Podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm just kind of catching my breath a little bit as I start here today with you. You know, it takes me a moment to kind of drop back into that beauty frequency that I've talked about before, to be present. The noisiness of being in the world for me can be quite overwhelming. Just doing, everyday things. And I mean that in the literal sense of noise and loudness, but also just the stimulation that is always present, even when we're sitting quietly. So I'm welcoming you in wherever you are, wherever you've come from, as we kind of gather together and connect around today's topic, which I'm excited about. I'm excited about every episode. The excitement and the delight is always unique. And this week's topic is one that I'm particularly looking forward to exploring with you, because it's come from you. It's come from the conversations that I've been having with listeners since the podcast started. And it's amazing to me. We're not that far into this season, and already there are questions about even the most seemingly simple things like, well, what actually do you mean by beauty? That are coming up, and it truly thrills me. It thrills me as much of what I don't know as what I do know, which I think is a good sign. And so I thought, because this question around, well, what is even beauty? What even are you talking about? I wanted to spend some time exploring it with you, the nature of beauty. And I realized that I will very likely contradict myself from episode to episode, partly because I'm learning with you, but because beauty is revealing itself to me in some ways in real time, and through learning and speaking with you in the world. And I think that's great. I find that so exciting that beauty's not the kind of thing where we're ever going to arrive on a definition we can point to and say, yep, that's beauty. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about some of the questions that I've been hearing, because they've been so thoughtful, and they've really got me thinking about what I mean by beauty in ways that I haven't thought before. And so I thought I would share a couple of the conversations that I've had over the last couple of months as a way to start, reflecting back what I'm hearing, and also tell you how that's informing and changing what it is that I mean, and with always the intention and the hope that these revelations are of service to how you think about yourself and your work and your beingness as you're moving in the world. So, but let me start there, with some of the conversations I had. Two in particular have stood out to me. There was one that happened, I had just given a talk at a conference, and I was speaking on the topic of a beautiful activism, and what would that mean if activism was infused with a quality of beauty and connecting and relating. And at some point, I'm sure I'll go farther into beautiful activism, but nonetheless, it was kind of, by the way, it was kind of a serious conference, and I was wondering, like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? How is this beauty framework gonna land? And the gentleman who was hosting the conference, I thought, just had such a really lovely and thoughtful set of questions and feedback that he shared as he was kind of moderating. It was the Q&A section, and he said something like, not all of us will connect with the idea of beauty, but we may very well connect with an idea of truthfulness or wholesomeness, in the sense of being whole and integrated. And we may connect with goodness, or whatever words. We may connect with something else that for whatever reason beauty doesn't say to us, or we're unable to connect with it. And I just thought that was the most useful way of opening a conversation that for some could feel kind of closed, if the idea of beauty just was too kind of out of reach, or felt out of reach in the sense of just like, I don't, like, where do you even locate it, or I don't even connect with it, for a lot of reasons, which we can talk about. And I thought, okay, I want to be really thoughtful then to decouple the idea of beauty. Well, first of all, being like beauty's, if you don't connect to the idea of beauty, you don't get what I'm talking about, because actually it's not even about the word. And I'm still trying to understand what it even means. So I was like, oh, this is so great. But yeah, it was one of those conversations where I thought, let me always be in conversation with whomever it is that I'm speaking with about the nature of beauty, because it's one that, especially if folks have, as so many of us have been, myself included, been handed a definition of beauty that feels like it's always attached to something outside of ourselves. And on top of that, it's been something that has been measured, evaluated, then it becomes really hard to connect with the idea and the feeling of beauty. So that was one. And then another conversation I was having with someone said something along the lines of, I grew up in a home where the beauty, at least in the aesthetic sense, was just not there. The surroundings were simple and sparse, and it didn't feel particularly beautiful. And on top of that, nobody called me beautiful. Nobody spoke about me as beautiful, not just by appearance, but in spirit. And then beauty starts to become like something that kind of like feels hard to even connect with. Like where is this beauty that you're talking about? Because beauty has been marked by its absence in the way that I was raised, which also just kind of, stopped me in my tracks. Because for as much as I have struggled with certainly the commodification of beauty and the, I think, extremely limited, impartial way that beauty is talked about, always in terms of kind of look or appearance or even aesthetic, even with that kind of training, conditioning, I've still gravitated toward it in a way that I don't even begin to understand. So it's humbling, it's important, it's meaningful to hear some of the ways that as you all take this in, continue to grapple with where are the blockages to beauty being something that's even at the most basic sense relatable, in terms of an experience or a concept, not because you don't understand it, but because it's something that has, I was thinking about this the other day. It was like one of these first places in our lives where our sense of perception, what we find beautiful, or even if we find ourselves beautiful, is judged, and there's a whole like external validation component to it. So it gets messy, to say the very least. So I wanted to put that out there, and then also share, because of these questions and my reflections, it's prompted me to ask, what's kind of my newest way of thinking about beauty? What is it? Knowing that, even probably 2 episodes from now, it will probably change, and that's fine. So I wanted to share this. The idea of beauty being almost an experiential quality and almost a frequency came to me in a way, and I'm sure I did. I shared a little bit about this in the very first episode of where did this idea of together in beauty come from, and liberating beauty. I talked about how my mom had passed away, and I had this feeling of wherever she would go and wherever I would stay, we would be together in beauty. But actually, my daughter has reminded me on multiple occasions that there's a story that goes along with that, or an image that came to mind that I haven't shared yet on the podcast, which is this. When I imagined beauty as this way of staying in connection with my mom when she passed away, the image that came to mind for me was, I don't even know if I played this when I was a kid or I just heard about it, but a telephone with like 2 tin cans that you tie together with a string, and I have this image of like one kid is listening from one tin can from their bedroom across the street, and you're listening to the other tin can from your bedroom, and you can talk between the tin cans, and somehow I imagined that my mom would have one of these tin cans wherever she was, and I would have the other, and the kind of the connection cord between us would be beauty. Somehow beauty being this way of staying in some kind of shared resonance where we could communicate. Like that was the seed. And I still don't understand what that means. And very often, if I receive any kind of spiritual download, it comes in this such a partial form that it can be very confusing to know what it means. And that was what happened. It was beauty as this connector cord between these tin cans that somehow could connect me with my mom. And okay, what do you do with that? And how do you flesh out the nature of this frequency that can connect across space and time? And so that's kind of where everything started. But the more questions and more conversations I've been having with all of you on account of these episodes coming out and the curiosity that it's sparked, I've wanted to get more curious about, okay, what does it feel like when I come into contact with beauty, and what might any of us start to notice, mostly at least as a starting point in ourselves, and then perhaps in the environment around us. So I stopped and I asked myself something that I believe it was in episode 4 with Sandrine Pell. We were talking at the very end of that episode about, this was a postcard to her future self. She had recently had a cancer diagnosis, and she was the end of her treatment and really just feeling so strong and so empowered that cancer was out of her body, and she wanted to remember how liberated she felt from illness and from fear. And I asked her, like, what does that feel like? What's that feeling that you want to feel like? And so that you can kind of send it to yourself as a future memory. And she talked about the warmth and the softness and coming into contact with her own essence underneath illness, underneath conditioning. And I thought to myself, that's when I talk about beauty, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking about coming into contact with that most quiet, thoughtful, and yet so enlivened sense of it's adoration for being exactly who you are. There's this, I experience it as this incredible coherence. It's not symmetrical, but it's like there's a feeling of, it is warmth, energy moving throughout my body. The thoughts that I'm thinking match the way that energy moves in my fingers. There's a steadiness to it. And it almost feels like the sensation is like I've just listened to a song that is the song of me. And we all have one, by the way. You've just heard the song, you're like, whoa, if ever there was a song that captured the essence of who I am, I'd be listening to that. And anything that I would create in that feeling would match how it feels as I listen to that song. Like there's this sense of coherence. And it's a way that almost love and beauty become perceptible in the body. It is quite a felt experience. For me, beauty is quite a felt, beautiful coherence that's inviting of all of the senses and feels like this very quiet celebration of us. Like, yeah, this is who you are. What a delight. And what a relief that you don't have to go anywhere or do anything, achieve anything to experience this beauty which you are. I mean, it's almost impossible to describe, and it comes in such fleeting moments. And I'm almost, it's actually hard for me to even articulate. I'm just kind of like lost in the felt sense of it as I try to describe it. But it's when I said something quite similar that I've just said to you. When I said that to the friend I was speaking with about the one who was talking about, well, in my childhood, there weren't a lot of beautiful things around me, and people weren't talking about beauty. When I said how I experience beauty as this kind of coming into contact with almost this song of who you are, like that started to connect, and that started to make it, the idea of beauty, more palatable. So I'm very much still learning my way with all of you into what beauty means and I don't want to at all write off the importance, at least to me, of the kind of environment outside of myself. When I'm in a space that's beautiful, when that coherence extends outward, like, whoa, then I'm like supercharged. I find that very exciting when the scenery around me is beautiful. It just changes how I feel. I'm very particular about when I'm recording this podcast, like, where am I? The environment where I speak, the environment where I do my best to come into contact with the beauty that's available in this moment. It really matters. But if I'm honest, what matters more than anything are the moments where I come back into contact with my own song. And I appreciate it, the the opportunity and the gift to be able to learn that song more thoroughly, learn my way into it, to hear it, to play in it. I'll talk more about this in upcoming episodes, because as I have continued to sense into beauty, what I realize is that beauty has all these other kind of kindred frequencies, like creativity, like pleasure, even grief. And sometimes especially when I'm doing something kind of creative, I'm like, oh, I feel like a sprinkling of that creative energy here, or curiosity, or other things. It's kind of this beautiful symmetry of feeling and of sensation. So I'll talk more about that in the coming episodes. But yeah, I'm really appreciative that so many of you have reached out and are curious about both the ways that beauty speaks to you, and also where there feels like there's blockages, without trying to fix anything, without assuming that any of us are coming into contact with beauty in a way that's right or wrong or problematic or divine. It's just, we're learning together, and that's really the gift when we're able to have these conversations, to continue that learning. So I think where I'd love to leave you today is actually the same question that I posed to Sandrine, and then the question I sat with as I was thinking about today is really, what does it feel like when you come into contact with yourself? That feeling that is quietly and unmistakably you. And it may be a question that you sit with for many different sittings, or many different ways, and through whatever practice it is that you come to find connection with the divinity in yourself and in others. It might not actually be sitting. It might be movement or whatever. But what does it feel like to be yourself? What does that feel like? And I really encourage you to ask what it feels like kind of in your body. What sensation do you notice? No doubt there will also be thoughts that occur to you as well. And I want to also say, like, I've sat with this question many times, and sometimes the things that come up are also uncomfortable, which are I find myself noticing all the things that get in the way of coming into contact with that feeling of who I am. So it's just, I say that as words of compassion and just patience as you practice remembering who it is that you are. Because I do believe that when we make contact with who it is that we are, and start connecting lovingly and gently and quietly with that inner knowingness, there is really nothing more beautiful. There's nothing that to me feels more beautiful. There's nothing that it's the most generative quality that I know of, that when I am able to connect with the essence of who I am. It's not then just about me. It has an effect on other people. It's like this, I notice there's this constant giving and receiving of permission between souls when we say, oh, who you are, the essence of who you are is so beautiful, so appreciated, is so loving, by being exactly as you are, as we are. So that is where I'm going to leave us for today. I appreciate you so much for tuning in to the Liberating Beauty Podcast, and I hope that you take care. Thank you for listening to the Liberating Beauty Podcast. To To learn more about the podcast, my work, and how I can support you on your journey of spiritual becoming, head over to the Together in Beauty website or email me at rebecca@togetherinbeauty.com. It's an honor to accompany you on the journey. A huge thank you to our multi-talented producer and co-creative director, Mapumba Cilombo. To learn more about Mapumba's work as a producer, sound engineer, and musician, check out the show notes for a link to his website at mapumbamusic.com. Many thanks to you, our listeners. None of this would be possible without the energy, encouragement, and vitality that you reflect back to us each week. Until next time, may you walk in beauty.